Welcome, welcome. Good evening. Welcome to the Women in STEM Speaker Series hosted by Spelman Center of Excellence for Minority Women in STEM. Good day, happy Black History Month, happy Mardi Gras. My name is Tasha Ennis, and I'm the Associate Provost for Research here at Spelman, and I lead the Office of Research, Innovation, and Collaboration. I also have the honor of serving as the Principal Investigator for the Center of Excellence for Minority Women in STEM. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone and give a shout out to those who are joining us via Zoom and here in person in Sisters Chapel. You all should give yourselves a round of applause. Welcome to our senior team members, Board of Trustee members, the COE Leadership Advisory Board members, our DoD Cooperative Agreement managers, alumni, parents, Spelman, faculty, staff, and students. And so 2 classes. Do we have anyone from the class of 2026, our first year students? All right. Okay, what about our graduating class of 2023? Woo! So thank you all for joining us today. I will just give you a brief overview of the Center of Excellence and introduce and acknowledge a few groups of people. So many of you may already be aware of this statistic, but Spelman has consistently been the top producer of Black women who advance to earn doctoral degrees in STEM fields. So it's because of this track record that the Department of Defense deemed us, Spelman College, a Center of Excellence and provided us seed funding. So thank you so much, DoD. We also are grateful for the additional funding we have received from other organizations to support the different center initiatives. But I want to highlight one group, and that group are our STEM alumni who have pledged donations for student scholarships as part of the 25 at 25 Circle of Sisterhood. The alumni champions for this 25 at 25 are Kenya Pierre, Dana Taylor, and Maya Blankenship. Thank you so much, STEM alumni. Now, it's because of our amazing alumni that we have as the foundation of the center these 3 pillars of excellence: research, academic advancement, and professional and leadership development. And then the mission of the Center of Excellence for Minority Women in STEM is to be an exemplar for the nation as we equip, empower, and elevate women of color from historically underrepresented groups in STEM to thrive and lead. So speaking of thriving and leading, I want to share with you that the Department of Defense has funded 4-year scholarships for 25 amazing Spelman students majoring in disciplines such as physics, chemistry, mathematics, computer and information sciences, environmental and health sciences, and biology. So please stand up, DoD academic scholars, so we can applaud you. And I know we have some online. So most of these scholars are graduating this May, yay. 4 of our scholars completed their requirements back in December, and 5 of our scholars are in dual degree engineering programs at their engineering schools, Georgia Tech, and North Carolina A&T State University. So we're very proud of them. But I do have to brag on them a moment. They did not give me a lot of information, but I just have to tell you that they are absolutely phenomenal. Many of them earned a perfect 4.0 GPA last semester. Over 80% of them have a GPA greater than 3.5. They have been accepted into numerous graduate programs, medical schools, dental schools, pharmacy schools, and received full-time job offers from such places as Howard University, Columbia University, Procter & Gamble, Georgetown University, Texas A&M, Accenture, the University of Michigan, and the list goes on and on. And so our scholars, we're very proud of you, and so keep it up. We're also honored to be hosting our very first Distinguished Faulkner Scholar in Residence, which is named after Dr. Etta Z. Faulkner, Dr. Candace Price, an applied mathematician from Smith College, will be spending the year with us and will be featured next month in the speaker series. I also want to acknowledge our COE Steering Committee, co-chaired by Dr. Layton Winfield, Division Chair for Natural Sciences and Mathematics, Dr. Sandra Patterson, Division Chair for Social Sciences and Education, and the 7 faculty from these 2 divisions who are serving on this Leadership Advisory Board are Dr. Nataki Osborne-Jelks, Dr. Shanina Sanders-Johnson, Dr. Viveka Vaughn, and our COE leadership team members online are Dr. Marilyn Davis, Dr. Valicia Ellis, Dr. Celeste Lee, and Dr. Alethea Tillman. So thank you all for being part of the leadership team. So normally I would save this until the end, but I know you're gonna have such an engaging conversation. I just want to say a few thank yous. A very special thanks to teams from several offices across campus. So Office of the President, Division of Strategic Communications and Marketing, my office, ORIC, Office of Research, Innovation, and Collaboration, Spelman Technology Services, Sisters Chapel, Division of Institutional Advancement, the Office of Undergraduate Studies, and Event Operations. So this could not happen without all of these individuals. Now the reason why we're all here today. The Women in STEM Speaker Series was designed to celebrate trailblazing women in STEM. Each academic year, we select a theme. As you can imagine, back in 2020, the theme was COVID-19. In 2021, the theme was Spelman on the Front Lines. And this year's theme is STEM Excellence at Spelman. In today's session, we are thrilled that one of our graduating DoD academic scholars, Ms. Demi Browder, will engage President Helene Gayle in a conversation about her trailblazing journey in STEM. So it's my pleasure to introduce Demi, who will introduce President Gayle. But here is Ms. Browder's bio. Ms. Demi Browder is a graduating senior biology major on the pre-med track from Austin, Texas. She is involved in many organizations on campus, such as the Minority Association of Pre-Medical Students, the National Society of Leadership and Success, Alpha Lambda Delta Honor Society, Alpha Epsilon Delta Honor Society, and the Mu Pi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Divine Nine Love. After Ms. Browder's time at Spelman, she endeavors to obtain her master's degree in either the medical or biomedical sciences and further her education by pursuing an MD degree. Her plan is to explore her hypothesis that an imbalance in the brain contributes to mental illness and that environmental factors may also impact a person's ability to activate certain connections in the brain. As part of her research, she will use environmental, biological, and psychological sciences to prove or enhance her theory. Pending the outcome, her goal is to one day perform surgical procedures to repair those impaired parts of the brain. In addition, she will use her research expertise as a platform to raise awareness, educate, and advocate for mental health services in low socioeconomic communities. So before I turn it over to Ms. Browder, I want to say this last thing about her. She was recently accepted into Spelman's WELL program, Women of Excellence in Leadership. Congratulations. And after tonight's conversation, you will understand exactly why. Ms. Browder, I am now turning it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Innes, for that introduction. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our featured guest, President Helene D. Gayle. Dr. Gayle, serving as the 11th president of Spelman College on July 1st, 2022. Trained as a pediatrician, her career has spanned the public health, humanitarian, and economic development fields. She has worked as the president and the CEO of Chicago Community Trust, as well as the president and CEO of CARE, leading international humanitarian organization. In addition, she spent over 20 years with the Centers for Disease Control, working primarily on HIV/AIDS, and led the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's programs on HIV/AIDS and other global health issues. President Gayle has been named as one of Forbes' 100 most powerful women and a top 10 Black higher education CEO to watch in 2023. A native of Buffalo, New York, Dr. Gayle earned her BA at Barnard College, her MD at the University of Pennsylvania, and MPH at Johns Hopkins University. Dr. Innes has also informed me that Dr. Gayle is being honored at the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine next month and receive the Joffrey Bean Foundation Builders of Science Award as a part of the 2023 Research Advocacy Award ceremony. Congratulations, Dr. Gayle. How are you doing today, Dr. Gayle?
I'm good. It's wonderful to see everybody. Great to be here.
I appreciate you joining us. It's an honor for me to host this conversation with you as a student who plans to pursue a medical degree with aspirations of becoming a neurosurgeon one day. Before we start our discussion, I just want to describe the formats of questions that I'm going to be asking to not only you, but to our audience here and on Zoom. There are 3 stages of questions I'll be asking related to your college experience, post-college experience, and career experience. After each section of questions, I will then open it up to our audience here and on Zoom to ask one question before moving to the next set.
Great.
Okay.
I'm game.
So starting off with your college experience, I know you majored in psychology at Barnard. What interested you most, and why did you select this major?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for doing this. And it's a real honor and pleasure to be with you and to be with everyone. I started out in psychology because I was really interested in Black psychology and, really thinking about how do we understand how our mindsets actually impact where we go as individuals, but also as populations. When I was growing up, there was a very famous psychology experiment called the doll experiment. The husband and wife couple, psychologists, the Clarks, who looked at preference for Black dolls or white dolls and realized that whether you talk to a Black child or a white child, that they had a preference for the white dolls. And, it was that along with a lot of other psychologists that I was exposed to that really got me thinking about this. How do we make sure that as Black people, we had a good sense of ourselves and that we were psychologically whole and that we really, valued who we were as a people. And that really got me very interested in psychology and what that whole field could do as I was thinking about how I wanted to, as a young Black woman, contribute and give back to my community. So I was thinking I would pursue a career in psychology, probably do clinical psychology, but because I was at a school that had a very, very high focus on pre-med, I got interested in not only looking at the psychological issues, but also then starting to think about, health in a broader sense.
Thank you for sharing this. I know for me, I selected major in biology because I always knew that I wanted to be pre-med, and I thought that was the only route that I would be able to pursue pre-med based off of my high school experience. And so I believe it's important for students to see that you don't have to always go the traditional STEM route in order to be kind of exposed to a pre-med route. And so that actually leads me into my next question. You were able to fulfill your passions in psychology. How did your academic and research interests kind of evolve once you got into college?
So, I started, as I said, started thinking that I would do psychology, and had just not, when I was growing up, and my husband who's there, we always laugh about the fact that when we were growing up, you either became a doctor or a lawyer. There wasn't all of the fields, and you weren't thinking about all the different things that options, career options that are out there today. And if you wanted to be successful and be a leader in your community, there were a few professions that people thought about. Medicine was one. My father, when I was in high school, because I was a good student, said, well, you should be a doctor. And I was like, no, if he says I'm going to be a doctor, I am not going to be a doctor. You know, the typical, you know, opposing what your parent says you should do. So, you know, my route was first saying, all right, there's no way I'm going to do medicine, to then understanding that medicine really would provide an opportunity to have a very broad career. So, you know, I just think that as time moved on, and being in an environment, surrounded in an environment where pre-med, there was a lot of women. Barnard is also a women's liberal arts college, and it had a high percentage of women who went into medicine. So that just was how I kind of evolved, by being in an environment where it was very clear that having a career in medicine opened up a lot of opportunities. I started thinking of going into medicine. You know, I didn't have doctors in my family, so I had thought that pre-med was maybe out of my range and wasn't something that I could, you know, really attain. But being in an environment that nurtured young women who, you know, had the desire to go on to medicine provided that seed for me to then go on and pursue medical career.
Thank you. I know, just spending my time at Spelman, being able to have the chance to just explore those diverse outlets that related to my passion of neurology and neuroscience, my research has started to expand as well, just being around like-minded individuals. So it's kind of been able to allow me to hone in my skills on what exactly I want to do with that. And so that kind of leads me to my next question. Once you kind of did have that specific interest and experience that you wanted to have, what in college helped your career trajectory and manifest and solidified your passion?
Well, I think being around people who supported me and who made me realize that it was possible, you know, was really what helped me. You know, I joined a couple of pre-med clubs, you know, got very involved in, you know, doing some research with professors in different laboratories. And so all of that, you know, having that opportunity to have a supportive environment was what, you know, ultimately gave me the belief that this was something that would be possible for me, and gave me the support to realize that.
Thank you. So that concludes our first segment, which is Dr. Gayle's college experience. And so now I'm going to open questions from the audience and our viewers on Zoom. We're going to take one question from each audience, and we ask if you could be as concise as possible and refrain from making any statements. So we can start with our in-person audience if anyone has a question. Yes, you in the red hat. And you can come to a mic.
Yes. I think that's in the third section, but but I guess I would just say, well, it's been wonderful, and you know, part of it is being surrounded in an environment that is so nurturing and that really does give young women the sense of, you know, you can do anything you want to do, and the support to be able to do that. And so that's, you know, just as I was saying about my college years, being in an environment where being a woman and being, you know, bringing yourself as a woman to the table was supported and validated was really an important part of my college experience, and what I find so inspiring here at Spelman.
And we'll now take one question from Zoom. We don't have one yet? Okay. You want me?
Hello, my name is Rachel Jones. I'm a sophomore health science major, chemistry minor on the pre-med track from North Jersey. My question for you is, how did you maneuver those predominantly white spaces as a Black woman, and being able to be confident in yourself as you were going in a predominantly white field as well?
I think that's probably in the second section too, but anyway, I guess similarly to the experience here at Spelman, which I think gives young women a sense of themselves, so that once you leave here, you have that sense of confidence. I think going to a women's liberal arts college, even though it was a majority white institution, still did give me a real grounding. It gave me the sense that just because I was a woman, I could still be supported. I also had a lot of support from the black community within Columbia Barnard. We had very, very tight-knit community that, really helped to reinforce our sense of self. So I think, I carried that with me. And, I don't know how many people were here for Tracy Ellis Ross yesterday when she spoke, but she talked about, somebody asked her a question about code switching, and she talked about how important it is to be your authentic self no matter where you are. And that, yes, if you're thinking about the environment that you're in, you have to think about how do you get across the message that you want to get across in that environment, and sometimes that means you have to think about who's the receiver of your message. But I think the bottom line is, how do you make sure that you are grounded in who you are so that you can always bring your authentic self to whatever situation you're in? And I think if you do that, then you can navigate all kinds of spaces.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maya Blasingame. I'm a graduating senior biology major on the pre-medical track from Madison, Wisconsin. And from the Zoom webinar, we have a question from Ayana Crawford. She mentioned that she has family who are graduates from Spelman. In terms of your goals during your time, either at college or beyond, did you ever think about being a college president, as well as how did you find role models to lean on during your experience?
I couldn't hear all of that, sorry.
She asked, did you ever think about being a college president during your time in college and beyond, as well as how did you find role models, and who were those role models?
So I never thought about being a college president. I didn't go the academic route, so it wasn't something that I necessarily thought about. But when I was approached to consider this role, for me it was something that I was automatically attracted to be able to in some way give back to the next generation of young black women who want to go out and change the world, was something that was very inspiring to me. And I just felt like this would be an opportunity to hopefully help to provide the support to shape a next generation of young change makers. That was, I had not really thought about that, but that was kind of my motivation for why I decided that this would be a great opportunity.
Thank you all for your questions, and thank you, Dr. Gayle, for your responses. We are now going to move on to Dr. Gayle's post-college experience. Dr. Gayle, you have both an MD and MPH. Which one did you do first, and can you talk about your decision-making process for determining that path?
Yeah, so when I was in medical school, I started getting more exposed to public health and realized that while as a clinician you have a great opportunity to impact people's lives individually, if you're focused on public health, your patient becomes a community or a nation, or you're really working at a population level. And I got very interested in, if I wanted to have impact on health, I could get skills as an individual practitioner, and I could also get skills that would allow me to work with health at a population level. So I was able, during my medical school, to take my last year in medical school and get my MPH. So I did the two combined, and then went on to do my clinical training in pediatrics.
Thank you. This kind of ties in a little bit to your previous answer. So kind of based off of your path, would you consider your academic journey to be traditional? And if so, what advice would you give a student who is deciding to take the non-traditional route, meaning like post-bac, grad school, or even a gap year?
Yeah, so I think, and I often get asked by students and people early on in their professional career, how exactly should they chart their course? what should their exact path be, what courses should they take, what internships should they take, et cetera. And I really think that everybody has to chart their own path based on their own personal passions, opportunities that are presented. And so no, I don't think I did a traditional path because I've had a lot of different careers along the way, have done health, public health, economic development, international humanitarian. So, I mean, my career has been a bit of not exactly a straight line. But I think that people should take the path that seems to make the most sense for them, but always being mindful of what your end goal is and why did you start on the path that you started on, and what's your motivation, what are your passions, what are the things that really speak to you and who you are as a person. And I think then, the path becomes clearer as you move along. I actually did a post-bac year because since I didn't decide to do medicine until later in my college, during my college years, I took a post-bac program and finished my pre-med requirements. So I think doing that way is good. Other people will do, like you have talked about, perhaps doing a master's degree first and then doing medical school. So I really do think that there is no one path, and everyone has to make up their decision based on what's available, what's affordable, where your passions lie, et cetera, and not think that there's any one particular path to get you there.
Thank you. I like how you stated every individual needs to chart their own path. I think that's very important as a student, just to kind of reassure that all routes and journeys can be seen as successful. I just believe, like, as we get older, we get introduced to a lot of societal pressures that we feel that we have to follow a certain path that may not fit as us as an individual. So that kind of leads me into my next question about societal pressures, and this was asked a little bit earlier, but did you face many obstacles as a Black woman in STEM? And if so, how did you overcome them?
I think I was fortunate that by the time I was coming along, women in health fields particularly were not it wasn't as rare as it had been, beforehand. When I went to medical school, about a quarter of my class were women. Now, over 50% of classes are women. So I think I faced less obstacles than I might have if I had come along slightly earlier. And I also think that, because I started my career in government, and, I think the federal government tends to be a more accepting environment than, sometimes more accepting than, say, a corporate environment. But nonetheless, oftentimes, even in the environments that I was in, I was often the only woman, often the only black person, and often the youngest person in the room. And I think it really did mean that I had to, again, as we talked about, be very clear about who I was and what I had to offer, and be very comfortable with myself and who I was in relationship to other people. And so, I think I learned to navigate, different spaces, always kind of carrying with me the confidence that people had given me in the different environments that I'd worked in.
Thank you for that. I know I can speak for some of, like myself, as well as some of my Spelman sisters who are sitting in this audience and on Zoom, that we've shared some similar obstacles when it comes to being Black women in STEM and having to kind of have that expectation to succeed and kind of prove ourselves in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So I just want to thank you again, Dr. Gayle, for being able to share your light and resilience as a Black woman in STEM, because it's truly inspiring to all of us.
Yeah, and I would, I guess I would also say, I think sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves to be perfect in different settings, and I think it's okay to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. We're now going to open the question forum back up for in person and on Zoom. So, yes, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Gayle. My name is Sanaya Wynn. I'm a graduating senior biology major from Decatur, Georgia, and I wanted to hear about what your leadership looked like once you graduated college, because many of the opportunities that we were given as college students become insignificant as you matriculate through your career. So what does leadership look like for you after you graduate college?
So what was, for some reason, I'm getting a lot of echo from that side.
Yes, ma'am. What does leadership look like for you after you graduated from college? Because once we graduate from college, those opportunities that we were given as college students become insignificant. So what does leadership opportunities look like for you and for students here in this building? What would that look like?
There's part of it I just didn't catch. You said the leadership experiences that you get here become insignificant?
Yes, ma'am. As you matriculate through your career, you get to wipe off those opportunities that you were given off your resume and your CV because you are matriculating through your career. So how do we gain leadership opportunities outside of college?
Yeah, I think just taking opportunities to stretch yourself and do different things. So, as an example, when I went to medical school, I got very involved in the Student National Medical Association. It's the association for black medical students. And, I used that as an opportunity to get involved with the community. We did a lot of community engagement as medical students. I was elected to different leadership roles within the Student National Medical Association. And in my medical school itself, I was also a student officer. So I just think in any environment you're in, there's always opportunities, and looking for those opportunities for leadership, and not for leadership's sake, but because I think they do stretch you and they give you opportunities to engage with different kind of people, opportunities to continue to build your leadership skills. So I just always looked for those opportunities and took advantage of them as a way of continuing to develop my broader sense of myself beyond just the academic work that I was involved in.
Okay, so we have a question from Zoom. So, hello, my name is Zinzi Griffin. I'm a graduating senior computer science major from Oakland, California. And our question is from Andrea Wright, class of 97. And her question is, what suggestions would you have for future generations of Spelman women currently in K through 12 settings who are interested in STEM fields but don't always see themselves and may not be aware of all the opportunities offered?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, taking advantage of, the network that is here. And I think there's such a broad network of young women who are interested in STEM fields. You've got these wonderful professors around who, are wonderful role models. And I think there was a question earlier about role models. And I think being able to look to people who are doing the kinds of things that you're interested in doing and learning from them. Most people who are in their professional life enjoy having the opportunity to talk to people who are interested in pursuing the kinds of careers that they're involved in. So never be afraid to ask somebody, what was your path? What was your journey? What are the kinds of things that I can do to prepare myself? So I think just taking advantage of the networks and the people around who I'm sure there's a lot that you can learn from, and learning from their experience.
Okay, that's going to conclude our questions for this segment. We will now move to the final set of questions for Dr. Gayle's career experiences. So how do you feel you can or will bring all of your experiences in STEM and expertise in public health, economic development, and humanitarianism as president of Spelman College?
Well, I hope that having had a background that has encompassed a lot of different areas, that, that can help to both build new areas and strengthen areas that we're involved in, build new partnerships. You know, since I've been here already, just because of different networks that I brought with me and different arenas that I've been involved in, you know, we've been able to start building new partnerships and new ways in which, you know, hopefully will open up opportunities for students, for faculty, you know, and for Spelman to continue to build on a lot of the excellent programs and academic activities that are already here. So I hope that bringing all of those different arenas to Spelman will help to broaden and deepen some of the areas that Spelman already has incredible expertise in.
Thank you. Dr. Gayle, you shared a lot about your college experience, post-college experience, and your career experience. And so this last question just is kind of more of a reflection. If you had the choice to do anything differently, would you?
No. You know, there's lots of paths one can take, and you know, I might have ended up in a different place had I taken a different path. But you know, I just feel like I've been very fortunate to have had a career starting, you know, in health and health sciences, but then branching out more broadly to a wide array of different areas. And I just think that, to me, that's the biggest lesson, is that you never know when you start your career where it will take you. And as long as you continue to stay tuned to, you know, as I started out, who you are, what your passions are, what are the things that really, you know, inspire you, what are you committed to? I think all of those things mean that, you know, whatever path you take is going to be the right path for you. You know, if I were to do something differently, I probably would have thought more practically about things like finances, for instance. You know, I don't think I thought enough about some of the practical aspects of life and thinking about saving and how are you making sure that you're looking towards retirement and your future and some of those sorts of things. But, you know, overall, I don't think that there's a lot that I would do differently, because I've had a very rich, rewarding career that ended up in places that I never would have planned, you know, when I was sitting where you sit today.
Thank you. We are now going to open up the floor for general questions, as well as from Zoom, but we'll take any regular questions now.
Hello, Dr. Gayle. I'm Jasmine Forbes. I'm a sophomore health science major from San Antonio, Texas. And my question is, since you've been in so many avenues such as humanitarianism, medicine, public health, what are some key or critical lessons or skills that you've learned from any of those experiences?
Key skills?
Key skills or lessons.
Well, first, you know, I think the first lesson is always being open to the possible and you know, being open to new opportunities. You know, I think I was willing to take what some might consider to be risk in moving from one field to another, but it's always been very rewarding. And so I think the willingness to do things sometimes that are a little bit different, that stretch you in different ways, very rewarding, and you know, I think you know, has provided me a lot of great opportunity. I also, in terms of skills, I think, you know, a STEM career or a career in the sciences, I think really builds a lot of great analytic capabilities that you can carry regardless of where your career goes. And so I think always building on, you know, what are the skills that you learn from one job that then can take you to another. I don't think had I not done medicine, I would not have necessarily had the exposure to public health. Had I not done public health, I'm not sure I would have had exposure, especially doing work globally, to some of the work that I then ended up doing in the humanitarian area. So I think each job that I've had has kind of prepared me for the next, and taking those skills, but really based on this kind of core analytic skills that I think gives you the opportunity to then be a problem solver and, you know, take that with you wherever your career may go.
Thank you.
I have two questions, sorry. Hi, my name is Alondra Stafford. I am a graduating senior chemistry major, math minor from Dallas, Texas. And my first question for you is, after you graduated, like finished your undergrad, what habits did you have to form or break in order to become an independent woman in this world?
Oh my, let's see. What habits did I guess just continuing to trust myself and trust my instincts. I think it is easy, and especially when you're young and a woman, to second guess yourself. And I think I had to continue to develop my own sense of trusting my instincts, trusting, my gut, and being willing to stand solidly in my own truth. And so I think that's the journey that I think we're all on in some ways.
Thank you. And the second one is from the Zoom, and it's from Elena Burrell. It says, hello, Dr. Gayle. I would like to know what drew you to become the president of Spelman, specifically.
What drew me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I spoke to that a little bit in one of the earlier questions. For me, when I was asked to consider this role, I had to think a bit because I was at a point in my career where I wasn't really thinking about taking on another job. I had thought that the last job I had was my last job, and but the opportunity to come to Spelman, which I knew, I had lived in and out of Atlanta for off and on over a couple of decades. I had a strong appreciation for Spelman. I knew what it did, how it shaped young black women's lives, and the excellence that Spelman is known for. And when I thought about if I had a few more years to do something that I thought was impactful, giving back to the next generation of young black women who all want to do something to have a huge impact on the world around them. I just felt like that was a passion, that was something that I could really commit my life to.
Makes sense. Thank you. Also, another question popped up, so I'm gonna just go ahead and read it. This is from Tracy Bowling. Dr. Gayle, what are your opinions on the medical and dental school rates as Spelman students, and do you have a plan to grow those rates?
Rates?
Rates. I'm assuming acceptance rates, but yeah, it's asking about the medical and dental school rates of Spelman students, and if you have any plans to grow those rates.
Yeah, well, I think they could always be higher. We have high acceptance into professional schools, medical and dental schools, as well as PhDs, but we could always do better. And we're always looking for ways in which we can make sure that any woman who wants to go on and have a career in medicine, dentistry, or any of the STEM careers, that we're preparing them as much as possible, that we're making sure that you're prepared for tests, making sure that you have all the prerequisite courses. So, I won't be happy until everybody who wants to pursue a career in medicine, dentistry, or what have you, is able to do that. And as long as we still have some people who are disappointed because they didn't have the preparation or didn't have the test scores, et cetera, I think we can't rest until anyone who wants to pursue those careers has that option.
Hi, Dr. Gayle. How are you? My name is Brandy Taylor. I'm a staff member here at Spelman, been here going on 17 years, as well as a proud Spelman
19
alum.
years?
17.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But still.
Exactly. As well as a proud Spelman alum from the chemistry department. Yes, chemistry. I work under the ORIC office as an undergraduate research and training programs manager. And as I sit here and I think about the different goals that you have for our students as well as career-wise, I was just thinking, are there any particular passion projects within STEM that you may have that students aren't necessarily aware of that you would love their backing on or support, and how they can possibly be involved?
Well, I don't know that I have any one particular passion point. I just think that STEM careers are the careers of the future, and I think that's broadly. I think that, as I said before, I think the analytic skills that one gains can carry across to many, many different careers. I mean, there'll be people who want to go into the arts, that having a STEM background, or at least having experience in the STEM fields, will make them better at what they do in a career in arts or humanities, et cetera. So I just think that it's so core and fundamental. And because we know that there's so many, that technology is changing our world, we need to be there. We need to know about that. We need to be on the forefront. We need to be on the cutting edge of it. And whether or not you stay in the STEM field or not, is less important than whether or not we're making sure that every young woman who comes to Spelman has the opportunity to have that grounding in that. So that's what I'm agnostic about which way it goes or what particular area, but just that I think it's so core and fundamental that I think it's just something, we've got to continue to make sure that, a young woman who comes to Spelman doesn't feel like, because she doesn't want to be a physicist, that she shouldn't take physics, because that will help you in other fields. So I just think thinking about it as a core fundamental versus is that going to be my career trajectory, I think is part of what I hope we can have our sisters experience here.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maya Sims. I am a graduating senior health science student from Houston, Texas, sorry. My question is for your MPH. Do you feel like that, I know it holds value, but do you think it was really important for someone who wants to go into public health? Like, how valuable do you think that degree is, and is it still possible to have like a sustaining career in public health without it?
Well, first of all, I think one can have careers in almost any field if you get started on that path and have the right opportunities, and there's no one degree necessarily that is the answer to it. That said, for me, having the opportunity to get a master's in public health really exposed me to the field of public health. And it opened my eyes to a way of thinking that I just didn't get just by getting a medical degree. And it really did expose me in a way that I thought was really important. So, it was a calling card. It says you're legitimate, you're part of this field. But it also mainly opened up my eyes to a lot of things that I just hadn't really thought about before, because it gives you that look from a population level that you don't necessarily get as in your medical training. So I thought it was a great degree to get, and I encourage people, regardless, to think about public health, a master's in public health, because it's a way of getting your toe in the water.
Okay, so we have two more questions. One is from Latonia Knox, and her question reads, did sponsorship or mentorship play a role in your success? If so, what was your approach in securing sponsors or mentors, and how important is it for Black women in STEM to do the same?
I'm sorry, this echo.
Okay, I'll read it again. She said, did sponsorship or mentorship play?
Yeah. Did sponsorship or mentorship play a role? I have probably had a lot of informal mentors and sponsors, and as you know, those two are somewhat different. A sponsor is somebody who kind of helps remove obstacles out of your way, is a champion for you. And I had, particularly I think about when I was at CDC, I had several people who were real champions for me and opened up doors that, had they not been there, would not have been available, or opened up opportunities that wouldn't have been available, and made sure that I was at the table in ways that allowed me to get a very broad exposure. So that was incredibly important. You know, also I had people who really felt like they wanted to give back to me in some way and be a mentor. So both of those played a role in my life. Probably, I often say, I don't know that I had as formal mentors as people have today, where there's a much more formal focus on mentorship and programs that provide mentorships. I didn't really have that, but I had people who were in my life who, you know, invested in me, saw something in me, and, you know, made ways possible that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
And then the next question we have is from Kelly, class of 2003, and she wanted to ask, how can those of us working in STEM areas for government agencies help to further support our students to see other STEM opportunities outside of the clinical areas?
Sorry, I don't know if you're having a hard time hearing too, but there's just an echo. Sorry, I hate.
Okay, it says, how can those of us working in STEM areas for government agencies help to further support our students to see other STEM opportunities outside of the clinical areas?
So how are people who are working in government able to provide more opportunities?
In government agencies, the ones working government agencies in STEM, how can they help expose other opportunities to their students that aren't the clinical route?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a good answer for that, because if they're the ones who are in the agencies, there are a lot of agency programs, and so, you know, I can speak from my experience at CDC. There were a lot of internships that allowed people to have public health experience. You know, I know the NIH has a lot of different internship programs, FDA. So, you know, a lot of the health-related, I'm more familiar with the health-related government agencies, and they all have a lot of internships that are not necessarily clinical programs, but they are research programs and allow students to have those kind of research experiences.
Okay, and this is we just got another question from Demetrius Browder. What can you do as the president of Spelman to give young ladies opportunities to write patents before leaving Spelman and leaving a technology trademark at Spelman?
Well, I turn to our faculty here to, you know, it's a good question though. It's something that has come up in several discussions that I've had, that I don't think we have a very formal system here yet to really both encourage as well as, you know, formally you know, work on patents. So, you know, I think it's an area that we should be thinking more about. And I don't know, some of the faculty may have more experience with how patents are treated here, but I think you know, I think there's a lot of great work going on here that we should be thinking about doing more in that regard.
Okay, we are now going to close the floor for questions, and I just want to give a big thank you to the audience for the questions you guys have asked here in person and on Zoom, and again, a big thank you to you, Dr. Gayle, for your insightful responses and motivational words. This concludes our conversation, and I would like to hand it back to Dr. Ennis.
Thank you.
So wasn't that an amazing, engaging discussion? Please join me in thanking our 11th president of Spelman College, President Helene Gayle, and our graduating senior biology major, Ms. Demi Browder, for an excellent job in the discussion. I want to thank all of you for being here in the audience and on Zoom and all of your questions. And I just wanted to give a shout out. If you're interested in seeing more amazing Spelman students, please join us for Research Day on Friday, April 21st. So thank you so much for being here for our Women in STEM Speaker Series. We hope you have a great evening. And thanks again, President Gayle and Ms. Browder.